What's the hardest decision a parent could ever make? My 4-year-old daughter Daniela came into the kitchen crying after preschool and said, "Daddy, I don't want to go to school anymore. They keep punching my belly." I immediately knelt down and saw real fear in her eyes. She was holding her belly, and my wife Ruby rushed over as I gently asked Daniela to explain what was happening at school. She said during nap time, someone kept hitting her stomach. It happened almost every day and made her feel sick. When I asked who was doing it, she couldn't say because the room was dark during nap time. The next morning, I met with the preschool director, Mrs. Henderson. She seemed genuinely shocked and promised to investigate immediately. They would have a teacher stationed right next to Daniela during nap time and review all their procedures. But Daniela came home that afternoon still complaining about stomach pain. We took her to see Dr. Weber, who did a thorough examination. He found no bruising or signs of physical trauma. Her abdomen felt normal and blood work came back fine. He suggested it might be anxiety or possibly acid reflux and prescribed some mild medication. But I knew my daughter wasn't making this up. Over the next 2 weeks, the preschool insisted no one was touching Daniela. They'd moved her mat next to the teacher's desk and watched her constantly. But she kept coming home with the same story. Ruby and I were at our wits' end trying to figure out what was happening to our little girl. Ruby suggested installing a baby monitor in Daniela's room. Maybe she was having night terrors or sleep disturbances that she was confusing with school experiences. I agreed because we needed answers. We set up the camera without telling either of the kids about it. The first few nights showed nothing unusual. I started leaving the monitor on during the day too when the kids played upstairs. That's when I began noticing odd behavior from our 7-year-old son, Walker. Walker would go into Daniela's room frequently when she was playing. Sometimes he'd just stand in the doorway watching her. Other times he'd get very close to her and she'd push him away. It seemed like normal sibling behavior, but something about his expression bothered me. 5 days after installing the monitor, I was reviewing footage from the previous night. Around 2 a.m., Walker had entered Daniela's room. He stood by her bed, then reached down and punched her in the stomach. Hard. Daniela curled up in her sleep and whimpered, but didn't wake fully. Walker hit her 2 more times before leaving. I felt sick as I called Ruby over. We watched in shock as I showed her multiple instances of Walker hitting Daniela over the past week. Sometimes at night, sometimes during afternoon naps when we thought both kids were sleeping. Our son had been systematically hurting his sister for weeks. We confronted Walker that morning. He denied it until we showed him the video. Then he just shrugged and said he didn't know why he did it. No remorse, no explanation. Ruby started crying while I tried to understand how we'd missed this. Walker had always been a good kid who did well in school and had friends. We immediately made an appointment with Dr. Roberts, a child psychologist. She met with Walker several times that week. He was cooperative but couldn't explain his behavior. He said sometimes he just felt like he had to hurt Daniela. The compulsion would come over him and he couldn't stop himself. Dr. Roberts recommended keeping the siblings separated and possibly medication. She wanted to rule out any neurological issues with brain scans. We implemented strict supervision and door alarms. Walker seemed to understand he'd done wrong, but we caught him trying to sneak into Daniela's room twice more.